Now, a mother carrying a supply of medical cannabis to help her severely epileptic daughter was reduced to tears after the drugs were confiscated at Southend Airport this morning. Emma Abbleby was trying to bring in a 3-month supply of the drug from Holland. Our reporter Anya Pop is here. Anya, just tell us what happened to this mum.
Well, we first met Emma Abbleby last November on the very day that the government's big announcement that they'd now allow medicinal cannabis to be used in the UK for medical purposes. But you might remember at the time the government were under huge pressure following the cases of the 2 young boys, Alfie Dingley and Billy Caldwell, who both had severe epilepsy and whose parents had said had been greatly improved, their condition had been greatly improved by using medical cannabis. So Emma Abbleby was desperate to try this for her daughter Tegan, who at the time was suffering 300 seizures a day with her severe epilepsy. But they've since found they haven't been able to access the drug here in the UK, so went to Holland this weekend to try and get it there. And they came back with 3 months' supply of it. It's obviously illegal to bring it back into the country without a prescription from here. And so they got it taken off them. And this is what they had to say in the airport today.
You know, there's 2 children with Tegan's condition over in America that have both passed away in the last 6 weeks due to seizures. Now, that's terrifying because that could be her at any time. That's why we were forced to go out there. Yeah, so I will get the medication back. I'm not gonna stop. I'll fight to get it back.
And Emma's not the only person struggling in this kind of situation, is she?
Well, exactly. This case highlights the issues that many people have faced in trying to access cannabis. Lots of doctors are reluctant to prescribe it because it hasn't been through clinical trials, which most drugs have in the UK. And we've been to Brighton to speak to Carly Barton, who's got fibromyalgia, and she says the cannabis has changed her life, but she's also had issues accessing it here in the NHS.
In places it feels like my bones have been replaced by hot pokers. And it burns from the inside out, and the pain is everywhere and all-consuming all the time.
2 years ago, Carly Barton often couldn't get out of bed. Even the strongest opiates couldn't suppress the pain caused by fibromyalgia.
My neighbour complained frequently about him being able to hear me screaming through the walls at the nights because the pain was that bad. And that was when I was on fentanyl and morphine. So not only was my pain not managed, but I was zombied. I was essentially off my face on drugs.
Desperate, she tried cannabis. This recent video shows one of Carly's attacks, where her muscles spasm and she suffers searing nerve pain.
So what's happening now is this whole leg is in fact both legs are completely locked and my foot is stuck where it is. These episodes can go on for like up to 12 hours.
But Carly says her cannabis vaporizer gives her relief within minutes.
There's no drug, anything that I've tried that is able to do what this does.
After a change in the law 6 months ago, Carly was one of the first people to access cannabis legally through a private doctor. But private prescriptions aren't subsidised like NHS ones. Carly says at £1,400 a month, it was unsustainable. She recently got an NHS prescription, but it needed to be approved by the hospital's medical board, and she's just found out it's been rejected because it's an untested medicine.
I think I have tried everything humanly possible to get this through in a legal way. I have a legal private prescription. I had a legal NHS prescription, even though it was scuppered at the very last minute. And I'm about to run out. I'm going to have to call a dealer to the house today. And I am committing now to openly, very openly, cultivate my own supply. I don't want to be a criminal. I'm not doing this for any kind of gain. I literally just want to have my medicine so that I can live my life.
When the Home Secretary announced last year that medicinal cannabis could be legally prescribed in the UK, it was celebrated by those who've been trying for years to access it. But many of those have been left frustrated to find they can't get it through the NHS, leaving practitioners and campaigners to say the whole process was rushed through without due thought of how it would work in practice.
Obviously this appeared as a good news story in the media that these products are being rescheduled, but it didn't mean that they were going to immediately be available on the NHS to be prescribed for free. There is a problem because A, The clinicians involved in specific areas are likely to want to prescribe drugs where there's a good evidence base of efficacy and safety, and so that has to be established first before they're going to be happy to prescribe them. And the NHS are wanting to know that drugs are cost effective.
Without clinical trials, it may be years before Carly can get cannabis through the NHS. So she's planning to grow the same strain that she's been prescribed and buy it illegally until it's ready. She's written to a local police force to tell them and to say she'll hand in any cannabis over her prescribed amount. But still, the fear of breaking the law to ease her pain is hard to escape.
I don't want the door coming in at 3 in the morning. I want to welcome the police. I want to say, come in, have a cup of tea with me, I will show you my plants. I will explain to you how much this plant has completely changed my life. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit upset, but it really has changed my life. And I want to welcome them in and say, look, you don't have to worry about me and these plants. You don't need to worry about patients and their plants or their conditions. You need to just leave them alone and let them get on with living their life, because that is essentially all we're doing.
Anya Polk with